In ancient China, the most terrifying thing was not that you lacked talent, it was that you had talent, but didn't belong to the emperor. There is an old Chinese saying that has lasted for centuries. Master every skill, then sell them all to the emperor. Many people interpret this as learn your craft and go serve your country. But its real meaning is more direct and more brutal. If the emperor doesn't buy you, your talent is almost worthless. In that world, talent was not free. It was more like a resource, one that had to be absorbed by a system to be considered valuable. Li Bai is one of the greatest poets in Chinese history. Later generations called him the immortal poet, but what he wanted most in life was not to write poetry. It was to become an official. He kept writing poems for the powerful, hoping to be recommended into the imperial court. Finally, he met Emperor Xuanzong, but the result was not entering the inner circle of power. He was simply kept at court as a man who wrote poems for entertainment. A brilliantly talented poet in the face of power became an ornament. Later, he left the court and began to wander. Looking back today, we think Li Bai won. His poetry has survived for over 1,000 years, and his name is more famous than countless prime ministers. But when he was alive, the logic was completely different. No official title meant failure. Poetry could last for ages, but it couldn't immediately be exchanged for status, salary, or security. In that era, if your talent was not acknowledged by the court, it could hardly count as success. This was not just Li Bai's problem. This was the logic of the entire system. How great your ability was didn't matter. What mattered was whether that ability had been recognized by power. Why was this the case? Because the empire monopolized nearly every path upward. By comparison, medieval Europe was far more decentralized. Nobles, the church, cities, merchant guilds, all could serve as independent centers of power. A talented person could serve different systems. Da Vinci worked for Florence, Milan, Rome, and finally went to France. No one considered this betrayal, but in China, after the Qin dynasty established the county system, power, resources, and opportunity were steadily consolidated into a single center, the court. There was almost no truly independent power structure in the private sphere. No matter how wealthy a merchant was, his social status remained below that of the lowest official. A swordsman, no matter how skilled, was worth less than a single government appointment. Most paths upward ultimately pointed to the same exit, becoming an official. The empire was the largest employer, and the imperial examination was virtually the only entrance. So thousands upon thousands could only squeeze onto the same bridge. In the Tang Dynasty, a single imperial exam admitted fewer than 30 people, yet tens of thousands applied. In the Song Dynasty, some years saw over 400,000 applicants. These people didn't love bureaucracy. They simply had no other road to walk. Pass the exam, and you got status, salary, power, security. Your entire family rose with you. Fail, and you returned to the village, or became a private tutor. All your talent had no real market. You were not choosing a career path. You were competing for a qualification, the right not to be discarded by the era. In a world with only one buyer, the seller has no bargaining power. But the deeper problem is this. In this kind of structure, the most dangerous people are usually not the incompetent ones. They are the most capable, yet not fully trusted. Han Jin is the most typical example. He was one of the greatest military geniuses in Chinese history. He conquered most of the empire for Liu Bang, but after the empire was won, His ability changed in nature. From asset to risk, Liu Bang didn't need to ask whether Han Xin was loyal. He only needed to confirm one thing. Did Han Xin have the ability to rebel? Han Xin's greatest crime was not disloyalty. It was that he proved he had the ability to be disloyal. In an empire, ability itself is sometimes danger. Han Xin was eventually lured to his death in Chang'e Palace. A man who helped you build an empire had to be eliminated, precisely because he was capable of building one. In this kind of system, ability is not security. Being accepted by power is security. Loyalty matters more than talent. Obedience matters more than creativity. Stability matters more than excellence. The impact of this logic doesn't stop at the political level. It gradually seeps into people's psychological structure. When the system becomes the only way out, people don't just depend on it in behavior. They begin to accept its value judgments from within. Parents tell you, study hard, pass the exams. Society measures your success by whether you hold an official title. Over time, a person naturally comes to believe if you haven't entered the system, then you failed. The system doesn't need to force you. You walk in by yourself. In the West, people often say, find your true self. In Chinese tradition, the phrase is, cultivate yourself, manage your family, govern the state, bring peace to the world. The destination of this path is not personal freedom of expression, but being used by a greater order. Value comes from being needed by the system, not from independent existence. The most successful system is not one that makes you obey. It is one that makes you believe there is no other choice. This is exactly Song Jiang's story. He had already seized Liangshan. He had soldiers, grain, territory. He defeated every army the court sent against him. By any realistic standard, he had already succeeded. But he didn't think so, because in his mind, nothing on Liangshan counted as legitimate. Only the court's recognition counted as real. He was not defeated in battle. He was defeated by his own belief in legitimacy. He traded the lives of 108 brothers for the title of loyalty and righteousness. In the end, he too died from a cup of poisoned wine. The system didn't pull him back. He walked back on his own. Liangshan's greatest failure was not losing the war. It was that even they themselves never truly believed a life outside the system could be valid. Song Jiang's tragedy is not one man's alone. He is the most extreme consequence. The saying, master every skill, sell them to the emperor. When a system monopolizes the definition of what counts as success, even if you stand outside the system, your heart cannot leave. This saying has lasted for centuries, not because it is advice, but because it describes reality. In a world with only one buyer, talent is not freedom. It is a resource that must be sold. If the most capable people in a society all want to enter the same system, will it ultimately become more stable, or will it gradually lose the ability to create something new? When every brilliant mind only wants to be an official, who is left to create another world?